In 2013, Jackie and I were both participating in the International Field Program in Caldas, Colombia, which is part of the coffee region. And we were working in different communities, but we were seeing a lot of the same issues, which is that there's a lack of economic opportunities. There are few opportunities for youth to participate in town life. And there's a lack of social cohesion as a result of the armed conflict and mistrust amongst neighbors and the government, and with the government as well. And so we started to talk about how storytelling could be used as a means for improving community cohesion and integrating people who maybe had been displaced by the conflict into everyday town life and making them feel more a part of what was happening. In the case of children, it can be very complicated because children take on the status of their parents for the most part. So if I'm a 12-year-old child who was born, for example, in Pakra, I was born probably after most of the violence has happened in the town. So my parents maybe lived through some of it. Maybe my parents were displaced from another region and came to Pakra and had me. I may not identify as a displaced person, but my parents very strongly might identify that way. So there can be disconnects within families around that word as well. And then we see that playing out when we look at the social lives of these children, because a lot of times the children will be labeled as part of the displaced group, but that's not really describing the lived experience that they're having, because for them, they've been born in this town. This town is all that they know. They don't know the life that their parents had previously. So they're being stigmatized in that sense. They're being othered, but it's not really a reflection of their experiences. And that's, again, goes to why we think storytelling is so important. That's the type of information that you learn only when you ask people how they feel about these words, when you ask a child how they identify. And we think it's really important that the children be given the opportunity to talk about their identities, to talk about their relationships to their towns and what they see as their future, rather than always assuming that we have an understanding of how the conflict and the resulting tensions in the towns have actually impacted their lives. From our experience working with children impacted by the conflict, I would say that one of the most important things to do is to really understand the local context, to understand the cultural and social context of the conflict, understand how it has changed life where you're working. I think in general we don't know enough about the impact of intergenerational trauma on youth, on children, and so we really have to do our best to try to gather that local knowledge in advance of working with children. And I think that from our work with Voces Colectivas, we've really seen the power of storytelling and how it can be used to empower youth. By giving a child the platform to really tell their life story, you let them take ownership. You let them choose what details are important. You get to hear from them directly about the impact that the conflict has had on their lives, rather than trying to do it the reverse way, where you're telling them and you're trying to show them the impact. And I think in that way we can also learn a lot from them.